Mammoth 500,000-pound XB-70 Valkyrie was easily the most impressive bomber-sized aircraft of its time.
Take a look at this plane. It's America's Mach 3 super bomber that you might have never heard about. The North American XB-70 Valkyrie stands out as the largest and fastest bomber ever built by the United States. Despite its impressive capabilities, this massive six-engine Mach 3 capable jet never entered full production. Instead, only one surviving prototype exists today, and it is preserved in the National Museum of the United States Air Force located in Dayton, Ohio. Meanwhile, the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress, which the Valkyrie was intended to eventually replace, continues to remain in active service. The XB-70 was aptly named Valkyrie after the female battle spirits from Norse mythology, symbolizing its formidable strength and purpose. Designed during the Cold War, this bomber was intended to penetrate Soviet air defenses during a nuclear conflict and deliver thermonuclear bombs to its targets with devastating precision. The XB-70 was an engineering marvel, stretching to an impressive 196 feet in length and standing 31 feet tall at the tail. It had an enormous maximum gross weight of 521,000 pounds, making it a giant among aircraft. The construction of the Valkyrie was equally groundbreaking. It utilized advanced materials for its time, including stainless steel honeycomb sandwich panels and titanium, which provided the necessary strength and heat resistance for sustained supersonic flight. One of the most remarkable features of the XB-70 was its use of a phenomenon known as compression lift. This aerodynamic effect occurs when the shockwave generated by an airplane flying at supersonic speeds supports part of the aircraft's weight. This unique characteristic significantly reduced drag and was a key factor in achieving the XB-70's extraordinary performance. Despite its advanced design and capabilities, the XB-70 Valkyrie never progressed beyond the prototype stage due to a combination of changing defense priorities, the development of more effective missile technology, and high operational costs. However, its legacy lives on as a testament to the era's technological ambitions and the relentless pursuit of aerospace innovation. The concept behind the XB-70 Valkyrie emerged in the early 1950s, a period marked by the belief that achieving even greater speeds and altitudes would enable American bombers to evade Soviet air defenses and deliver their doomsday payloads unchallenged. During this era, the primary defense mechanisms against bombers were fighter interceptors and anti-aircraft artillery. However, anti-aircraft guns were only marginally effective, boasting a hit probability of less than 10%, and interceptors struggled increasingly against the improving performance of strategic bombers. For instance, the B-47 Stratojet and the B-52 Stratofortress were pushing the boundaries of speed and altitude, making interception difficult. The strategic landscape shifted dramatically in the late 1950s with the advent of the first Soviet surface-to-air missiles, SAMs, such as the SA-2 Guideline. These missiles, capable of reaching altitudes of up to 80,000 feet and speeds of Mach 3.5, posed a significant threat to high-altitude bombers. The XB-70, designed to cruise at Mach 3 and altitudes exceeding 70,000 feet, suddenly faced a formidable adversary. The SAM's advanced radar tracking and guidance systems could engage targets at these high altitudes, compromising the XB-70's survivability despite its impressive speed. In response to the escalating missile threat, the United States Air Force, USAF, adjusted its operational tactics by conducting missions at lower altitudes where enemy radar systems had more difficulty detecting and tracking aircraft due to ground clutter and radar horizon limitations. However, at these lower altitudes, the XB-70 Valkyrie's performance was significantly diminished. Its design, optimized for high-altitude, high-speed flight, became a disadvantage. The XB-70's range would decrease from over 4,300 miles at high altitude to significantly less at lower levels, and its fuel consumption would increase dramatically. Moreover, the B-52 Stratofortress, which the XB-70 was intended to replace, proved to be more versatile in low-altitude operations. The B-52 could carry a larger payload, up to 70,000 pounds, compared to the XB-70's 50,000 pounds, and had the flexibility to conduct various mission profiles, including low-level penetration, making it a more practical choice for the evolving strategic requirements. The XB-70, despite its advanced technology and remarkable speed, could not outperform the B-52 in these new operational contexts, leading to its eventual relegation from primary strategic roles. Another significant blow to the XB-70 project came with the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, in the late 1950s. The XB-70 Valkyrie, a strategic bomber, was specifically designed to carry heavy nuclear weapons. However, the emergence of ICBMs began to undermine the strategic necessity of such aircraft. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who served from 1953 to 1961, was skeptical about the Valkyrie project. He did not perceive a genuine need for the aircraft, as he viewed rockets and missiles as the primary threat. Eisenhower argued that ICBMs were a more cost-effective and efficient means of delivering nuclear payloads. He also noted that the XB-70, still under development, would likely be rendered obsolete by the time it was ready for full-scale production due to rapid advancements in technology. Consequently, the Eisenhower administration reduced the project to a single prototype. In contrast, John F. Kennedy, who became president in 1961, supported the XB-70 project and even included it in his election campaign. Despite his endorsement, by the time Kennedy assumed office, the XB-70 project had already incurred expenses amounting to the equivalent of nearly $7 billion in today's currency, a substantial investment for a single bomber. In 1961, Kennedy ultimately decided to cancel the project, deeming it too costly and unnecessary. Instead, he repurposed the XB-70 program as a research initiative, recognizing the aircraft's potential for studying the effects of supersonic flight and propulsion. North American Aviation, the contractor responsible for the XB-70, completed the first prototype, designated AV-1, in May 1964 in Palmdale, California. The second prototype, AV-2, followed in October of the same year. Initially, a third prototype was planned, but it was canceled in September 1964. The first XB-70 embarked on its maiden flight on September 21, 1964. The Valkyrie achieved supersonic speeds for the first time, reaching Mach 1.1 on its third test flight on October 12, 1964. It broke the Mach 3 barrier on October 14, 1965, when AV-1 attained Mach 3.02 at an altitude of 70,000 feet. Subsequently, the AV-2 set the record for the highest speed achieved by the two prototypes, cementing its place in aviation history. In April 1966, the AV-2 reached and maintained a top speed of Mach 3.08 for an impressive duration of 20 minutes, showcasing its remarkable capabilities. Just a month later, the AV-2 demonstrated its prowess once more by flying at Mach 3.06 for 32 minutes, covering a significant distance of 3,900 kilometers, approximately 2,400 miles, in a total flight time of 91 minutes. However, tragedy struck on June 8, 1966, when the second XB-70 prototype was destroyed in a devastating crash following a mid-air collision with its F-104N chase plane. This tragic incident resulted in the loss of 2 lives and left 1 individual severely injured. The destruction of the second aircraft, which possessed greater capabilities than the first, represented a significant setback for the program. Despite this loss, testing continued until February 4, 1969. Ultimately, the first XB-70 completed 83 flights, accumulating a total of 160 hours and 16 minutes of flight time, while the second XB-70 logged 46 flights, totaling 92 hours and 22 minutes. According to NASA, the XB-70 Valkyrie made its final supersonic flight in December 1968. In February 1969, the Valkyrie AV-1 embarked on its last flight to the National Museum of the United States Air Force near Dayton, Ohio, where it remains on display to this day. The XB-70 Valkyrie was a marvel of its era, embodying cutting-edge technology and futuristic design. Despite experiencing a tumultuous journey from development to retirement, this supersonic bomber continues to captivate with its aesthetic, performance, and historical significance. Conceived during the Cold War, the XB-70 was developed under the belief that achieving Mach 3 speeds and higher altitudes would ensure the safety of a bomber carrying nuclear weapons. However, escalating development costs and rapid technological advancements eventually rendered the XB-70 Valkyrie obsolete for its intended purpose. Instead, the aircraft was repurposed for a research project aimed at exploring the dynamics of supersonic flight. The insights gained from the Valkyrie's flights contributed valuable knowledge to the field, benefiting the development of other military aircraft. The 1966 crash marked a somber chapter in the aircraft's history, but the surviving Valkyrie continued to contribute to research before ultimately being displayed in 1969 at the museum in Ohio, where its legacy endures. The XB-70 Valkyrie, though a technological marvel in its era, ultimately proved to be the wrong aircraft for its time. Developed in the late 1950s and early 1960s, the XB-70 came about during a period when the strategic military focus was shifting towards ballistic missiles, which were increasingly seen as the future of nuclear deterrence, potentially rendering manned bombers obsolete. This shift was due to the advancements in intercontinental ballistic missile (ICBM) technology, which promised faster and more reliable delivery of nuclear payloads over vast distances. Additionally, the XB-70 was being developed amidst growing recognition that high-speed Mach 3, or approximately 2,000 miles per hour, and high altitude, over 70,000 feet, alone were no longer sufficient defenses against the advancements in surface-to-air missile (SAM) technology and the next generation of Soviet interceptor aircraft. By the early 1960s, SAM systems like the Soviet Union's S-75 Dvina had demonstrated their effectiveness, and Soviet fighters were becoming increasingly capable of intercepting high-altitude threats. Despite its failure to fulfill its intended role as a strategic bomber, the Valkyrie project had a lasting impact on subsequent aerospace developments. The technological advancements and insights gained from the XB-70 contributed to later projects, including the B-1B Lancer bomber, which became operational in the mid-1980s, and the SR-71 Blackbird, a reconnaissance aircraft that held the speed record for jet aircraft for several decades. These contributions included innovations in aerodynamics, materials capable of withstanding high temperatures, and advanced propulsion systems. It is indeed a pity. The XB-70 Valkyrie, with its extraordinary speed and advanced design, had the potential to be the fastest bomber ever built. However, its operational deployment was curtailed after just 2 prototype units were constructed and flown, primarily for research purposes. The first flight took place on September 21, 1964, and the program concluded in the late 1960s, highlighting the rapid pace of technological change and shifting military priorities during that tumultuous period. Thank you for watching.